Hello, listeners, and welcome back to the English with Neil podcast. This is episode number 28, and today we are going to talk about the future of social media. Now, before we get started, I just wanted to give a big thank you to all of the listeners who are tuned in to this podcast. I really appreciate you. And so I'm using this podcast platform called Anchor. And inside of Anchor, they have something called analytics. Analytics is basically data about this podcast. And so I'm able to see where some of you are listening from. So I just wanted to give a big thank you to Mexico, Japan, Australia, Georgia, the United States, Brazil, Dominican Republic, France, Netherlands, India, the UK, Germany, Hungary, and Spain. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to the English with Neil podcast. If I did not mention your country, please leave me a comment and let me know where you are listening from. I would really love to hear and connect with all of you. So everyone, today we're going to talk about the future of social media. So when I opened my Facebook account a few days ago, on the right side, there were some advertisements for VR. So VR means virtual reality. And I started to think, wow, there's advertisements for VR on social media. What does the future of social media look like? And I started to just think back to when I first started using social media, and that was back in 2003. And I was first introduced to social media from my friends who are using this platform called MySpace. So back in high school, MySpace was the new hot social media platform that everyone was using. And so I started using that platform back in 2003. And I think up until now, 2022. So I was like, wow, I've been using social media for 19 years. That is a long time, 19 years. So then I got to thinking, what does social media look like in the next 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? It's probably going to be a completely different experience that we have now. And so I wanted to talk about that today. And the first thing I noticed, or something that I think, is I think social media is going to compete with search engines like Google, Yahoo, Bing. I think social media is going to be a big competitor with these platforms, because a couple weeks ago, my wife and I, we were looking for a new restaurant. Excuse me. We were looking for a new restaurant to go to, and my wife automatically opened up Instagram. And I asked her, why are you looking for new restaurants on Instagram? Why don't you just check Google? And she said because she wanted to see what the food looked like, and she wanted to see the inside of the restaurant, and she wanted to see the experience of the customers in the restaurant. And I was thinking, wow, that's pretty interesting. When you do a Google search for restaurants, you usually just get a website and then you get the restaurant's website. But with social media, you get so much more. You get the food, you get the atmosphere, you get to see people socializing with the food, socializing in the restaurant. And so I was thinking, wow, I think social media is going to be a big competitor with search engines when people are looking for things like restaurants or concerts or, shopping, things like that. Social media, I think people are going to go to social media before they go to search engines. And that's probably already happening now. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And then I just went on Google and I found this website called HubSpot. HubSpot is just a website that gives a lot of information about the digital media space. And they actually had an article about the future of social media. So I read the entire article and I picked out some points that I wanted to share with you today. So it said that Generation Z. So Generation Z are people born between 1997 and 2015. So that's called Generation Z. I am a part of Generation Y. Generation Y are people born between 1980 and 1996. But anyway, the article said people born in Generation Z were listening to influencers more than their friends and family. And I thought, wow, that is so interesting. Usually when you want to get someone's opinion, you ask someone close to you, like a close friend or family member. But it seems that people in Generation Z are listening to social media influencers more to help them make decisions. And I thought, wow, that is pretty interesting. So we have that. Also, they had some more information about shopping on social media. I don't use Instagram so much, but my wife does. And when I see her scrolling through her Instagram feed, I think on Instagram there's a way to click on something on the picture and there'll be a link for you to buy the item that you see in the picture. And I was like, wow, that is so smart. How many people use Instagram? Millions of people. And if you're trying to sell something like clothing, you want to make it as easy as possible. So on Instagram, you can literally buy something with 2 clicks. And I thought, wow, that is pretty amazing. So I think other platforms are going to show up that allow people to shop seamlessly. Seamlessly means easily. So I think there's going to be a lot more shopping done on social media. And the last thing I wanted to talk about is VR, virtual reality. I think in the future, maybe in the next couple of years, there's going to be an opportunity for more people to use virtual reality with social media. It's actually already happening with the metaverse. If you guys don't know what the metaverse is, it's a virtual reality world that Meta, Mark Zuckerberg, and his team have created for people to put on headsets and socialize with one another in the virtual world. And I think there's going to be more opportunities for that in the future. I personally am not really a VR person. I don't really engage in virtual reality. But I think for people who play video games or for people who are just interested in that space, I think there's going to be a lot more opportunities to use VR along with social media. But I like the idea. I like the idea of being able to connect with people all over the world. I love that. I really love the ability to connect. So who knows? I'm not using VR right now, but maybe in the future, I'll give it a try. We'll see. But I have a question. What do you think? What do you think social media will look like in the next 5 to 10 years? Let's talk about it. Leave me a comment. I would love to hear what you think about social media. All right, everyone. That is it for today's podcast. Thank you for tuning in to the English with Neil podcast. I look forward to speaking with you in the next one. Take care, everyone, and talk to you soon. Peace.